welcome to another edition of Randy's Wellness TV. This edition focuses on craniosacral therapy. My guest tonight, Melanie Galea, a registered massage therapist. How are you tonight?
I'm great. How are you?
Thank you for joining us tonight, Melanie. And a lot of people don't realize what is craniosacral therapy. They may not have heard it. There are some other conventional treatments out there, as well as some natural health treatments, which they think may encompass that. But what is craniosacral therapy?
Well, cranial is a very light, it's a light hands-on treatment that helps alleviate the negative effects of stress on the body and the nervous system. So it's very gentle, like I said, and what I love about it the most as a therapist is that it gets to the source versus symptom chasing. And as a therapist, somebody can come in and they're like, I'm having headaches, and as a massage therapist, I'm not making a difference with them. But then they start to tell me about some of the things that has happened. They might have had a fall, and maybe it's something that's going on somewhere else in the body that's having an effect on, like let's say their upper neck or their head. And the problem is actually their sacrum versus the head.
Right.
So sometimes people come to me and I'm working on their low back and they're like, "Excuse me, I've got a headache. What are you doing down there?" So I really I like it because like I said, I listen to the body and what's going on with the strains inside of the body, and I get to the source versus symptom chasing.
And that's important too, because how many times do we take prescriptions or we take other treatments, and what does it do? It takes care of the symptoms, but it doesn't actually treat the cause.
Yes.
And that's what we're talking about today, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, so where did you train to be, first of all, registered massage therapist?
I trained at the Canadian College of Massage and Hydrotherapy,
Okay.
and I think it's changed names since that time. In August I'll be practicing 10 years. And the craniosacral therapy, just after I graduated from massage school, I took my first course, and it was, somebody said, you should do it, and I heard talk about it when I was in massage school, but took more interest once I was done. And it was really, my first course was quite interesting. It was almost like it was meant to be, that I was to be a therapist. And I ended up being a demo on one of the modalities, or one of the treatment specific.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I was just so relaxed and so at ease and so peaceful after it. Like, it caught my attention perfectly. So I started taking courses right after that, and like I said, through the Upledger Institute, and I've taken at least 6 or 7 and apprenticed at least 15 courses, and I teach introduction courses now.
How long has this modality, this craniosacral therapy, been around?
Well, it started from William Sutherland in the early 1900s, and so it's gone through a few different facelifts.
Transitional changes?
Exactly.
Yes.
So, but craniosacral therapy, as I know it and I've studied, started in the 1970s with Dr. John Upledger, and he really brought it to the mainstream in the early 1980s, because one of his big things is working with the fascia, not just the sutures between bones. That's where the bones meet in the skull. They're called sutures.
Right, and for our viewers out there that may not understand, that the fascia is what?
Fascia is, oh yes, thank you. Fascia is like, it's your connective tissue between muscles and ligaments, and it's in between every single...
Soft tissue.
It's soft tissue.
Yes.
That's an easy way to say it. Yes, it's soft tissue.
Okay. And what is the difference between, let's say, a practical application of a treatment, massage therapy? What's the difference between that and craniosacral therapy?
The weight of the touch.
Okay.
Massage therapy can use up to 20 to 30 pounds of actual pressure, where where I'm putting an elbow in and leaning on someone, where craniosacral therapy is literally 5 grams, which is the weight of a nickel.
So it's a hands-on approach, but it's very passive.
Yes.
Yes.
And I'm glad that you said that, because in the passiveness of it, it doesn't have the person fighting against me. I'm working with their system because they're relaxed. When I'm working with someone doing massage therapy, I find sometimes, they're fighting me because it hurts.
Yes.
And so that part of their nervous system is working. And I have the part of the nervous system working when I'm doing craniosacral that helps the body heal, which is called the parasympathetic nervous system. So that's the part that when we're sleeping, we heal and we digest things. And it's important to have that system working more often during the day.
And that pressure, massage is very much physical pressure with the hands on the sore areas of the body, the sore muscles and
Yes.
aches. And you won't feel that with craniosacral. It's very gentle.
It's very, there's one technique that can be very tactile, but what most often people say is that I can't even feel where your hands are anymore. So it's very, like I said, it's very gentle and passive.
So what's the overall benefit of this treatment?
Of this treatment?
As opposed to, let's say, chiropractic?
Well, chiropractic, I think that they work very well together, so I'm not...
Complementary?
Yes, I think they're very complementary.
Okay.
So, but the benefits of craniosacral therapy, like I said, is that it's very gentle and it gets to the source versus symptom chasing. And so, you know, there's a place for both. But what happens is that sometimes what gets missed with chiropractic is that issue of the soft tissue.
Right.
And that's where craniosacral therapy comes in. And because when you get, you know, you can just think about it, you know, like if you have some sort of, I say, you know, help people get issues out of their tissues, right? So if something is all tied up and it's not brought out of the soft tissue, then that issue is just going to keep coming back and coming back and coming back.
It would be a repetitive syndrome type thing.
Exactly,
Yes.
exactly, until you get to the source of it. So that's what I really like about the craniosacral.
Okay. Now, what are some of the conditions that this treatment can work for? Some of those really difficult conditions to really correct?
It can go from, it works very well with children with autism.
Really?
Yes.
How does that work?
Well, what they find is that children that are autistic, they have, their sutures tend to be, which is the connection between...
Okay, let's hold that up to the camera.
Yeah,
brain,
you
look at the
can.
brain and the skull there. Okay.
Yeah. How's that?
Sure.
So some of the sutures get very, very tight within each other. And what happens is that inside the skull, there's a covering of the brain and spinal cord called dura. That's the fancy name. Another way, you know, how I might explain it to somebody on my table, it's like a sock covering the brain and spinal cord. So what I do is that sock gets really, really tight. So that's why I think you see a lot of children with autism, they're self-inflicting, but it's actually pain relieving to them because it's so tight. So what cranial does is it helps relieve some of that tissue tensions inside of that sock. Because you know what it's like when your socks are twisted? Drives you crazy, right? Well, craniosacral therapy...
Putting on socks and they're twisted is not a good feeling.
No, exactly. Well, just imagine that inside of your body. And you've got socks inside of socks inside of socks inside your body.
Right.
So that's what I help to try to... So you're asking some of the conditions.
Yes, absolutely.
So autism, back pain, migraines, headaches. For some people, it's even some sort of, you know, they have some trauma in their body. It helps get some of their emotional issues out as well.
And that's a psychological benefit. Definitely.
Yes.
What about the condition known as temporomandibular joint problems?
Yes.
Yes.
So it's great for that because as human beings, when we get stressed out, the first thing we do is that we clench our teeth.
Right.
We raise our shoulders become earrings. How many times do we see people walking down the street with their shoulders raised? And then we shallow breathe. So what happens is that when as human beings, we don't shake it off. You may see a dog that's very, very stressed out, and they know how to let it go. You know, you see them shaking it off. But as human beings, you know, if we're adding an emotional element to it, maybe we're not speaking enough, maybe at night we're starting to clench our teeth. Craniosacral therapy can help really start to alleviate and get rid of some of that stress out of the jaw joint itself. So this is where the joint is right here, okay? You know, when somebody says, oh, I have TMJ, you know, it's like, oh, yeah, so do I.
And it's that constant, and of course this can happen when they're sleeping.
Yes.
That's a major thing.
Yes. Well, because it's the stress, right?
Right.
So if we're not, and that's one of the biggest things, you know, it's just really helping people get rid of the stress out of their bodies.
So a person walking down the street, they're all clenched up and they're walking and they're in busy traffic downtown. If they were to see themselves on video later, they wouldn't believe it, how stressful they look.
Yes.
And it's quite something where people, it's the same thing when you're sleeping, they may be at home or getting involved with a variety of lifestyle issues, and they may be all tensed up in their teeth, and not only that, they cause damage to the teeth,
Yes.
constant grinding, and that causes the aching. So temporomandibular problem beneficial treatment is craniosacral therapy,
Yes.
definitely, yes.
Absolutely.
And what about something like immune system suppression, maybe from a variety of other factors?
Well,
Would it benefit that?
absolutely. It's going to help bring homeostasis back into the different parts of the body. It's,
Right.
One part of your nervous system affects another. And stress is probably one of the number one negative effects on the nervous system. It's our number one immunosuppressor inside
Yes.
the body. So I think that a lot of the dis-ease processes that are out there, and I do believe that some of these people are having pain. Like if I think about, oh my goodness, fibromyalgia, for example.
Right.
It's a very real condition for people. But what is it that's inside their body that's having them eat away at themselves? That's exactly what's happening, is that there's somewhere in the cells have said, okay, we're going to turn around and start eating back at ourselves. So craniosacral is just an opportunity to bring back that homeostasis, having and encouraging the different organ systems of the body starting to work together and in harmony again. So that's one of the biggest premises of craniosacral therapy, is that it brings homeostasis, balance.
Right, absolute balance, yes.
Balance to the system.
And a lot of things can occur. You can have disasters out there. We'll talk from an emergency management standpoint, or preparedness for the moment. Disasters, people may not be directly affected, ill or injured as a result of a disaster, tsunami, earthquake, major fire, car accident, whatever.
Yeah.
Or a major disaster. But they may be close by or learn of this thing, and close enough by where they actually feel these signs and symptoms. And that's where this tension and stress can build up, and because of that, you really need a natural
Yes.
treatment to benefit you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I'm glad that you talked about that sort of stuff. People from the Upledger Institute had teams go into the 9/11
Okay.
just after.
So they went into the 911
And they-
operator section or something.
Well, they actually did treatments on the
Okay.
people that were the helpers,
Okay.
the rescue workers,
Great.
and did work with them. One of the other benefits is really working with people that have post-traumatic stress. Giving their body an opportunity to let go of some of that stuff and have a look at it in a safe environment so that they can start to deal with it and let it go. And it really, really helps a lot of some of those people. They saw some terrible, terrible things. So.
Post-traumatic stress disorder, we all know some of the events that have occurred recently which cause a person to really experience those signs and symptoms, and they're very real, and this is manifested in the body.
And it's not just, it's manifested in the body, it's housed in the body. Because here's what the other thing that happens is that if we can't deal with it, or if we don't take the time to deal with some of those emotional issues, we store it in our body.
Absolutely.
And it's like a beach ball. It's like holding down a beach ball. So, I mean, and this is, I think, why some people have some of the temporal mandibular joint dysfunctions. And and you can imagine as well is that with craniosacral therapy, imagine you have 100 energy dollars a day, okay? And if you're spending $20 holding down that beach ball, issue here, issue can't stand my boss, my kids are driving me crazy, whatever your issues are, or it could be stuff that's a lot older. It's costing you $20 a day just to hold that stuff down, let's say. Now let's say that you're in a car accident, and you're in a car accident with two people are in a car accident, let's say.
Right.
Okay, so person A is in the car accident, and they have a great relationship, everything is good, they do a lot of inner work and that sort of stuff. And then, so let's say that they're operating at $95 a day. They're only spending like $5 a day of their energy. So they're doing pretty good. They've got 95 available for anything else. Then you have person B who's running at 60 because, all those things that I just described previously. Anger,
Lifestyle
dispersion.
issues, yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So those two people get into a car accident. And person A gets better in 6 weeks. Person B takes 6 months.
And they can have the same injuries.
They can have, let's say that they have the exact same
Yes.
injuries. What's the difference between the two? So what craniosacral therapy does is put those energy dollars back into the bank.
Okay, that's interesting. And how would you do this treatment? Is there? I guess I don't know if we could do a demonstration here, but how would somebody do this treatment?
Well, it's too difficult to do here because I usually have my table.
Right.
The person is fully clothed during the treatment, and I have them lay on their back, and I start by feeling something called the craniosacral rhythm. And this is a rhythm that I can feel from head to toe in a person's body.
Like breathing, for instance. Rate of breathing, the quality of the breath, that type of thing.
It's not the breath.
Okay.
Okay. It's almost like a wave in the body.
Okay.
Okay. So I feel for
like
that.
An energy, perhaps.
But it's more than it's
a rhythm.
not. It's a rhythm.
A rhythm. Okay.
It truly
yes.
is a rhythm in
okay.
the body. So so what I'm feeling for and I'm evaluating, I have this little system. It's called, for short, I call it SCORE, or it's called SCORE. That's what Dr. Upledger called it. And I'm feeling for the symmetry, okay, between two sides. I'm feeling for something called flexion and extension. So if I'm working on a pair of bones, what I'm feeling for is an opening and a closing. So I'm feeling the symmetry. How far is it opening? How far is it closing? Is it even on both sides? What's the quality? Is it ratchety? Is it smooth? Is it, and then what's the amplitude? How far does it open? How much does it close? And then the rate, how fast is it? So that's the evaluation tools that I use before and after, and using that shows me and gets me to the source.
And how long would a treatment take?
Well, I like to do anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour because I find that it takes people some time to settle down and relax and get themselves into the treatment, and have some time to really enjoy those moments of being very, very relaxed.
Okay. Why not give the audience your email address or contact information now?
Yeah, sure, that would be great. My website is atouchofinfinity.ca. And my email address is atouchofinfinity@yahoo.ca.
Okay.
And I'd love to answer any questions that anybody has. And
Melanie, is it possible for a person to, understanding, if they have an understanding about meditation or relaxation, is it possible for a person to actually learn to do a form of this themselves?
absolutely, yes. I'm so glad that you asked that
I
question.
brought that up for a reason. So
Did you? Okay.
The reason why is because I used to see a natural physician who did this
Oh,
treatment.
great.
And I found that to a degree I was able to accomplish this myself between visits. To a degree.
I do teach introduction classes, and I find that I have an array of different people. I have people from, the people in profession, massage therapists, chiropractors, and then I have the lay people, and I find that it's a really great mix because the people that are the professionals, they're so in their head and about learning it, and then the people that are lay that don't have the technical, they're just feeling, right? They're just trusting their hands, so it's a great mix to put them together. And I've taught both of my parents how to do it,
That's terrific.
and I can
So-
teach anybody.
That's great. I want to explore the introductory sessions more myself, but
Okay.
but I've been able to accomplish a certain amount of relief, and I can feel that wave, and I can feel things relaxing, and it's really a benefit.
Yeah.
So, how much of your time would you say is spent doing massage therapy versus craniosacral?
Right now I'm doing more massage therapy, but whether people know it or not, they're always getting a little bit of craniosacral inside of a
Sneak it
massage.
in.
Oh, I sneak it in. Oh, yeah.
That's great.
And then it's always like, oh, well, do that thing. If I don't do it, they're like,
Yeah.
give me a little bit more of that.
Now I see you've got a book there.
I do.
Maybe you'd like
Yes, I
to talk
would like
about
to
that a
show
little
it.
bit. Okay.
So this book is called The Inner Physician in You, and it's by Dr. John Upledger, and he is one of the founders of the work that I've been studying, and he's still plugging away. He's in his 70s, and it's a very easy read. He's a bit of a he's a bit of a smart mouth. So it's great. It's easy to read. It talks about how he discovered really got into it.
Okay.
And it tells people all about it and talks about how he started teaching. One of my most favorite stories is that how he started teaching some of the lay people. People in his courses or in his study groups with the kids with autism. They didn't have enough hands. They were teaching physiotherapists and other osteopaths at the time. And they were really upset because they were teaching caregivers and moms and dads how to do the work. And he took a lot of flack for it. And I'm really glad he's the tough skin that he is, because this work wouldn't be where it is without it. So, yeah, that's just one of the stories.
Great. And where could they find this book at their health store, local health store? Or
it's a
perhaps?
good question.
Yeah.
You may have to, I know that at upledger.com that you
Yes.
could find it,
Okay.
or you may have to look, it's called Inner Physician and You by Dr. John Upledger, spelled
Okay.
Upledger. And yeah, I also have copies at my office.
Great. Now, are there any conditions or specific problems where this craniosacral therapy would not be indicated?
Yes. Any point in time that there is any intracranial membranes, so somebody that's just had a stroke, or like a hemorrhage, or they have a brain injury, or something, not necessarily a brain injury, but a, their skull's wide open, that
Yes.
sort of thing.
Yes, that would be a definite
It
problem.
would be
Yeah.
not a good thing.
Well, so where do you go from here? How much further do you want to go in terms of training further for craniosacral, as well as passing on that knowledge to your clients? Are there any plans for the future in terms of different levels of that?
Yeah, I have, I love teaching the introduction,
Okay.
and it's just a matter of whether or not I want to take it to the next step and continue studying for the level 1 with them, which would be a lot of fun and quite an honor.
Well, that's great. Well, thank you very much for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me. It's great.
Very interesting program. My guest tonight has been Melanie Galea, a registered massage therapist, and also very interesting to talk to in relation to craniosacral therapy. Very new in terms of my knowledge, and that's what we try to do. We try to bring all the health benefits here, the new programs, the natural health programs, to let you know what's going on out there. So stay tuned for upcoming episodes. I'm Randy Rowett. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time on another edition of Randy's Wellness TV. Bye for now.